Commander Vexka then adjusted his 4 eyes to focus on the massive holographic display floating above the bridge of the supremacy vessel Crimson Dawn. 20,000 years of peaceful expansion across 17 star systems, and now this impossible reading was ruining his perfectly planned morning. "Sir," squeaked his junior communications officer, Trilmox, her tentacles trembling as she operated the sensor array. "The readings are, well, they're completely insane." "Define insane, Officer Trilmox." Vexkathan's voice carried the weight of authority that came from conquering 12 different species. "In my experience, insane usually means profitable. The ship, it's broadcasting on frequencies we haven't detected for 20 millennia. The energy signature matches." She paused, her breathing apparatus whistling nervously, "matches the humans." The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Vexkathan's mandibles clicked together in what other species had learned was not a good sign. His memory banks accessed the archived files, dusty digital tombs containing information about the species that had vanished so completely, so thoroughly, that most younger Cathani considered them mythical. "Impossible," growled his weapons officer, Grix Valor. "The humans were wiped out during the Great Cleansing. My grandfather's grandfather participated in the final bombardment of their pathetic blue world." "Yes, well," Vexkathan said, his sarcasm dripping like acid rain, "perhaps your grandfather's grandfather wasn't as thorough as his military report suggested." "Trilmox, magnify the vessel." The hologram shifted, zooming in on a ship that defied every law of modern engineering. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of their own dreadnought, but it moved with the grace of a hunting predator. The hull appeared to be constructed from materials that bent light around them, creating an almost ghostly appearance against the star field. "By the 7 moons of Kathan," whispered Navigator Z Prime. "Look at those weapon arrays. I count over 400 distinct energy signatures." 437, to be precise, corrected the ship's artificial intelligence, Mother 9. Her voice carried that particular tone that suggested she found organic beings mildly amusing. "And that's just what I can detect from this distance." Vexkathan felt something he hadn't experienced in decades, genuine concern. The Cathani Empire had spent the last 20,000 years convinced they were the apex predators of the galaxy. Their technology was unmatched, their military unopposed, their expansion unstoppable. They had glass-bombed 17 different worlds, enslaved 43 species, and turned entire star systems into mining operations. "Sir," Trilmox's voice cracked like breaking crystal, "they're hailing us." "Put it through," Vexkathan commanded, straightening his ceremonial armor. "Let's see what these ghost humans want." The main display flickered, and suddenly they were staring at a face that sent chills through every Cathani on the bridge. The human was female, her skin bearing the pale complexion of someone who had spent years in artificial environments. Her hair was silver white, pulled back in a severe style that emphasized sharp cheekbones and eyes the color of deep space. But it was her smile that truly unsettled them, an expression that suggested she knew something they didn't. "Greetings," she said, her voice carrying an accent that sounded ancient and refined. "I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the Terran Exodus Fleet. Ship designation, Prometheus Unbound. You may not remember us, but we certainly remember you." Vexkathan's translator implant worked overtime, parsing the meaning behind her words. Exodus Fleet? That implied multiple ships. His sensors showed only one vessel, but then again, human technology had always been unpredictable. "I am Commander Vexkathan of the Cathani Imperial Navy," he replied, trying to project confidence he didn't entirely feel. "Your species was declared extinct 20,000 years ago. Your presence here is, historically inaccurate." Captain Vasquez laughed, a sound that seemed to echo through dimensions. "Extinct? How wonderfully optimistic of you. Tell me, Commander, have you ever heard the human expression about death being greatly exaggerated?" "No," he replied flatly. "Well, you're about to get a very expensive education. Her smile widened, revealing teeth that had been modified with what appeared to be metallic enhancements. You see, when your people glass-bombed our homeworld, you made one tiny, insignificant mistake. And what was that? Vasquez then asked, though he was beginning to suspect he didn't want to know the answer. You assumed we were all on it. The transmission cut, leaving the Cathani bridge in stunned silence. Vasquez's combat experience told him to raise shields and power weapons, but his political instincts suggested that might be premature. After all, it was just one ship against the might of the Imperial fleet. Sir, Grix Valor reported, his voice tight with professional concern, our sensors are detecting massive energy buildups throughout their vessel. Whatever they're planning, they're not trying to hide it. How massive? Vasquez then asked. Approximately, well, sir, approximately equivalent to the total power output of our entire home system. The commander's confidence evaporated like morning mist. That's impossible. No ship can generate that kind of power without what, sir? Without consuming itself in the process, he finished quietly. Mother, Nine's voice cut through their contemplation with typical artificial intelligence efficiency. Commander, I'm detecting quantum fluctuations around the human vessel. They appear to be manipulating spacetime on a scale I've never seen before. What are they doing? Vasquez then demanded. Unknown. But if I were to speculate based on theoretical physics, I would suggest they're preparing to demonstrate why humans were feared across 3 galactic arms before your people made the mistake of attacking them directly. Trilmox's tentacles were now vibrating so rapidly they created a visible blur. Sir, long-range sensors are detecting, this can't be right. What now? More ships, sir. Lots more ships. They're decloaking throughout the system. I count 57, no, wait, 84, the numbers keep climbing. Vasquez then closed all 4 eyes and tried to remember his military academy training. Rule 1, never engage an enemy whose capabilities you don't understand. Rule 2, never assume an extinct species is actually extinct. Rule 3, if rules 1 and 2 are both violated simultaneously, prepare for a very bad day. Open a channel, he ordered. Captain Vasquez's face reappeared on the screen, but this time she wasn't alone. Behind her, Vasquez then could see other humans moving with practiced efficiency across what appeared to be the most advanced bridge he'd ever witnessed. The crew looked wrong somehow. Too pale, too sharp, too focused. Like predators who had spent 20,000 years planning their return. Ah, Commander, Vasquez said pleasantly. I was hoping you'd call back. You see, we have a small problem to discuss. What kind of problem? He asked, though he was fairly certain he knew. Well, it seems your people killed approximately 9 billion of our friends and family. Now, we're not unreasonable. We understand that was a long time ago, and most of you probably weren't even born yet. But here's the thing about humans, Commander, she leaned forward, and her modified teeth caught the bridge lighting in a way that made them gleam like weapons. We hold grudges for a very, very long time. The display showed the tactical situation, and Vasquez then felt his stomach drop into his boots. 112 human vessels had materialized throughout the system, surrounding the Cathani fleet like sharks circling wounded prey. Each ship was broadcasting the same impossible energy readings as the Prometheus Unbound. Now, Captain Vasquez continued conversationally, we've spent 20,000 years preparing for this moment. We've traveled between stars, learned new technologies, made some modifications to ourselves. All so we could come back and have this conversation. What do you want? Vasquez then asked, though he suspected the answer would be unpleasant. Justice, Commander. Sweet, patient, carefully planned justice. You took our world. We're going to take yours. All of them, actually. Every last Cathani colony, outpost, and mining operation. Consider it retroactive property redistribution. Vasquez then looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They were the finest warriors in the Cathani Empire, veterans of dozens of campaigns against inferior species. But right now, they looked like children who had just realized the monster under the bed was real. "And if we refuse?" he asked. Captain Vasquez's smile became something that would haunt his nightmares for whatever remained of his lifespan. "Commander, have you ever seen what happens when a star goes supernova?" The transmission ended with that question hanging in the recycled air like a death sentence. Commander Vasquez stared at the blank screen where Captain Vasquez's terrifying smile had been moments before. The bridge of the Crimson Dawn felt smaller now, like the walls were closing in with each passing second. "Sir," whispered Navigator Z Prime, his voice barely audible above the humming life support systems, "what did she mean about stars going supernova?" Before Vasquez could answer, space around them began to shimmer. Not the gentle distortion of standard faster-than-light drives, but something far more sinister. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist as the human ships moved into attack formation. "Mother 9, the commander barked, analysis of their movement patterns." "Fascinating," the AI replied with what sounded suspiciously like admiration. "They're not using conventional propulsion at all. They appear to be folding spacetime around their vessels, essentially making the universe come to them rather than moving through it." "That's impossible," Grix Valor shouted from his weapons station. "The energy requirements alone would require the total output of a star," Mother 9 finished helpfully. "Which brings us back to Captain Vasquez's rather pointed question about supernovas, doesn't it?" Vasquez then felt his blood temperature drop several degrees. "Are you suggesting they're using stellar energy as a power source?" "I'm suggesting they've learned to harvest stars the way we harvest solar panels," the AI replied. 20,000 years is a long time to develop new technologies when you're properly motivated. Suddenly, the communication array crackled back to life. But this time, it wasn't Captain Vasquez who appeared on screen. Instead, they found themselves looking at a human male with skin so pale it was almost translucent and eyes that glowed with an inner light that definitely wasn't natural. "Greetings, Cathani scum," he said cheerfully, his voice carrying an accent that suggested multiple centuries of practice. "I'm Admiral Marcus Forge, Supreme Commander of the Terran Revenge Fleet. Captain Vasquez thought you might enjoy a little history lesson before we begin the festivities." "What kind of history lesson?" Vasquez then asked, though he was beginning to realize that asking questions only led to more disturbing answers. "Oh, the fun kind. The kind where we explain exactly what we've been doing for the past 20 millennia while you've been congratulating yourselves on committing genocide." Admiral Forge's smile made Vasquez's look positively friendly. "You see, when you glass-bombed Earth, approximately 3 million humans were off-world. Mining asteroids, exploring distant systems, conducting deep space research. You know, the usual boring stuff." The display shifted to show historical footage that made Vasquez's stomach churn. Images of Earth burning, cities melting under orbital bombardment, oceans boiling away into space. But then the footage changed, showing human ships fleeing into the deep dark between stars. "Now," Admiral Forge continued conversationally, "most species would have given up at that point. Found some nice quiet planet, settled down, maybe started a small farming community. But humans, well, we're a bit different." "Different how?" Trilmox squeaked from her station. "We don't forgive. We don't forget. And we certainly don't give up." The Admiral's expression shifted from pleasant to predatory. "So we did something your people probably thought was impossible. We united. Every last human survivor, across 17 different star systems, agreed on exactly one thing: the Cathani Empire needed to stop existing." The tactical display updated, showing the true scope of the human fleet. Not just the 100+ ships surrounding them, but thousands more positioned throughout Cathani space. Every major colony world, every military outpost, every mining operation had human vessels lying in wait. "Impossible," Grix Valor muttered. "Our long-range sensors would have detected." "Your sensors detect what we want them to detect," Admiral Forge interrupted. "We've been living in your shadow for 200 centuries, learning your technology, studying your weaknesses, waiting for the perfect moment to introduce you to the concept of consequences." Vasquez's military training finally kicked in past the shock and horror. "What are your terms?" Admiral Forge laughed, a sound that seemed to echo from multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Terms? Commander, you seem to be under the mistaken impression that this is a negotiation. This is an execution. The only variable is how much we decide to enjoy it. We have rights under the Galactic Convention." Vasquez protested. "Rights?" The Admiral's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than a shout. "Did Earth have rights when you turned it into molten slag? Did our children have rights when your weapons boiled them alive in their schools?" The bridge fell silent except for the increasingly rapid breathing of the Cathani crew. Vasquez could see the fear in their eyes, the growing realization that they were facing something completely beyond their experience or understanding. "But we're not monsters," Admiral Forge continued, his pleasant tone returning like a snake's hiss. "We'll give you the same consideration you gave us." "None whatsoever." Suddenly, every screen on the bridge lit up with different human faces. Captain Vasquez reappeared, but she was joined by dozens of others. Men and women with modifications that ranged from subtle to horrifying. Glowing eyes, metallic skin, appendages that definitely weren't standard human anatomy. Each one smiled with the patient satisfaction of a predator whose trap had finally closed. "Meet the rest of the family," Admiral Forge said proudly. 20,000 years of evolution tends to change a species, especially when that evolution is guided by a very specific purpose. One of the other humans spoke up, her voice carrying harmonics that made Vasquez's translator implant struggle. "I'm Commander Sarah Vex, Genetic Manipulation Specialist. My particular area of expertise is making sure extinct species stay that way." Another human, this one with skin that seemed to absorb light, added his own introduction. "Captain James Fury, Stellar Engineering Division. I design new and interesting ways to make stars explode." "And I," said a third human whose eyes contained what appeared to be miniature galaxies, "am Dr. Lisa Void, Temporal Mechanics Researcher. I make sure that when we erase you from history, you stay erased." Vasquez felt reality sliding away from him like water through his claws. "This is madness. You're talking about destroying entire civilizations." "Yes," Admiral Forge agreed happily. "Just like you did to us. The beautiful thing about revenge is that it allows you to use your enemy's own methods against them. Very poetic, don't you think?" "Sir." Trilmox's voice cracked with panic. "Energy readings from their ships are spiking exponentially. Whatever they're planning to do, they're about to do it." The space around the human fleet began to glow with energies that hurt to look at directly. Not the clean light of fusion drives or plasma cannons, but something older and more fundamental. The light of creation itself, harnessed and weaponized. "Last chance, Commander," Captain Vasquez said, her image returning to the main screen. "Any final words for the historical record?" Vasquez then looked around his bridge one final time. His crew, the finest warriors in the Cathani Empire, were paralyzed with terror. Their weapons were useless, their shields meaningless, their vaunted military superiority revealed as the illusion it had always been. "Why?" he asked quietly. "Why wait so long? Why not attack immediately after Earth fell?" "Because," Captain Vasquez replied, her smile becoming almost gentle, "we wanted to make sure we got all of you. Every last Cathani, in every system, on every world. We wanted your entire species to experience exactly what ours did. Complete and total extinction. And besides," Admiral Forge added with a chuckle, 20,000 years gave us time to make sure the universe would be better off without you. We've been quietly liberating your slave species, you know. Turns out most of them are quite grateful for the opportunity to join the new galactic community we're building." The revelation hit Vasquez like a physical blow. The mining rebellions on Kepler-7, the communication blackouts in the Vega system, all us, Dr. Void confirmed cheerfully. We've been systematically dismantling your empire from within while you congratulated yourselves on being apex predators. 43 species, freed from Cathani oppression. They're all quite eager to help us with this final phase. The energy readings from the human ships reached critical levels. Space-time began to buckle and warp around the Cathani fleet. Goodbye, Commander Vexkathan, Captain Vasquez said softly. Please give our regards to your ancestors when you see them. The last thing Vexkathan saw was the light of artificial stars being born around his ship. The last thing he heard was the sound of reality itself screaming as the humans demonstrated exactly what 20,000 years of patient, methodical, absolutely ruthless planning could accomplish. The Cathani Empire, which had ruled 17 star systems with an iron fist for 20 millennia, ceased to exist in approximately 14 seconds, and in the silence that followed, the ghost ships of humanity began broadcasting a simple message across all frequencies, in all languages. Earth remembers. Humanity endures. The reckoning is complete. The age of human expansion had begun.